Hi there, I'm Shane Spiers and welcome to another edition of the Summit Interviews, beaming out to you from the beautiful city of Bath in the UK. My guest today is Chris Huskins. Chris, a very warm welcome. Great to have you on our show.
Thanks very much for having me, Shane. I'm excited.
Brilliant. For those of you that don't know him, after over 7 years as a commercial radio presenter, Chris discovered podcasts and moved to quit the day job, starting a podcast company. He grew this to be a global brand over 4 years. And more recently has moved to a different path that helps podcasters and small businesses to get the same digital platform as the big boys with much smaller budgets. This includes his podcasting membership platform, PodTips.Pro, and his self-branded digital marketing company, both of which have launched with amazing interest and are now working with some huge companies across the world. Wow. Chris, the title of our interview today is How Podcasting is a Great Marketing Strategy for Businesses. We have 5 minutes for the interview. If you're ready, I'll start the clock.
Yes, absolutely.
So, how can a podcast be the key to a full marketing strategy?
Yeah, so this is something I've been talking to a lot of clients about, and I think it's really central to the way that companies should be marketing these days. And the words that are massive at the moment are content marketing, aren't they? We're trying to get customers to come to us because when we go to them, it tends to put people off. And so we have to deliver a lot of value all the time, constantly, for people to actually go, okay, this is someone I can trust. Now, when you look at content marketing as blogs, or you see a lot of websites with loads of stock images that you get for free, all of those kinds of things, they add a layer of value, but not a layer of trust, because we see all of the same things repeated across the internet.
Right.
And with the internet being doubled every year, the amount of content and blogs and those things doubling, it's just a really hard world to get into. Yeah. And it's a hard world for the consumer to really trust you, your brand, or your business. Now, the one thing that we're not seeing trust levels dip in is video or audio, because you can't hide. Yeah. You can't hide who you are. And we found this when I found this when I was on radio. You can't really, to a degree, you can pretend to be someone, but when you're there all the time, repeat again and again and again, you can't pretend to be someone you're not.
No.
And especially with video as well. I mean, I can see the white behind your eyes and you can see it in mine. Yeah. So with video and audio, it's exactly the same. Now, the reason I fell in love with podcasts is because I think they add so much value on top of that trust layer. Right. And so I think that podcasts can be the center of it because they add an emotional connection with your brand or your business. I mean, if people are regularly hearing your voice, then they start to think that you're their friend, or that you're certainly someone who they trust. Yeah. And podcasts, when people listen to podcasts, they tend to be, it's a solitary task. They tend to be on their own. I mean, I'm walking the dog, or I'm in the commute, or I'm on a train. So without knowing it, a lot of podcasters, their job is, or half of it is, to make someone feel less lonely as well. Yeah, and it's amazing, that level of trust. The amount of people we used to meet when you'd meet listeners from when you're on radio or from when you're on podcasts, and they'd bring gifts, or because you're in their car or their home every single day. It's incredible. So that layer of trust, imagine adding that to your business or to your brand. Yep. You can't go wrong.
And how does a business go about getting started with podcasting?
Yeah, that's why I love podcasting so much I mean, I love video as well, don't get me wrong, that will definitely come into it. But with podcasting, you can start with such small amounts of equipment, such small amounts of investment, and you can make loads of mistakes and no one will ever know, which is the fantastic thing. Yeah. The best thing, I've been doing a talk all around the world, and the best thing I think that you can do is just get started. I mean, if you're in any sort of marketing world, you'll have heard minimum viable products, the MVP. Right. And that for me is brilliant with podcasts. I would say a minimum viable product is releasing something before it costs you loads of money. Right. To get an idea of whether you're doing it right, whether the audience want it. You can do that with podcasting. And the talk I was giving all over the world was I would literally just take my smartphone onto stage with me, and I would record, edit, and release a podcast all just on this. Wow. And the cool thing was that it was within their iTunes or their Apple Podcast app for them to play back at me like a 21 iPhone salute almost within the room before the end of the session. Yeah. So for businesses that are starting, I would say, you know what your audience want to hear already. You know what they want how you can add value. You know what their problems are because you're already solving them with your product. Yeah. talk about all of that on a podcast, grab your iPhone, use the recording app in there, use the editing app in there, and just start releasing it on a free platform. You could release it on YouTube or Facebook video or anything, just to get an idea of if people are going to consume your content like that.
Right.
And then you can smash straight in and go and get a brilliant podcast host that will get you onto iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify even now, which is pretty rock and roll. I like being on Spotify alongside like the Beatles and stuff. That's
brilliant.
pretty cool.
We've got 45 seconds left. What do you see as some of the mistakes being made with podcasts?
Exactly. It's very similar to what I just said. People go out and they buy loads of kit and loads of this, and they expect to monetize and make huge amounts of money straight away. It's the same as all content marketing. It takes a little bit of time. You've got to build up that trust and keep being consistent. If you don't do those and you think you're going to be a millionaire overnight just because you bought an expensive mic, I'm afraid it's not going to happen. But if you put the time in, it will. And it's incredible, the benefits.
Yeah, brilliant. Chris, folks, for more resources, check out Chris's website, www.PodTips.Pro, and there's loads of stuff there. Chris, thank you very much for that.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for checking out our Summit Scale podcast. If you like what we're doing here, please head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate us and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. And if you want to learn more about the work we do or are looking for a load of free resources to help with scaling your business, check out our website, www.summitleader.com.